Kathy, do you remember saying any of these things? No, I don't. All of that? No, I don't. It was so heartbreaking. You know what I said to Lisa? I was on the other end. I know that you're having problems. She sold herself as Beverly Hills royalty, the glamorous mother, the funny friend, the queen of diamonds. But the truth, Kathy Hilton's crown was built on manipulation, cruelty, and lies. She wasn't the doting mother. She wasn't the loyal sister. And she wasn't the fan favorite Bravo wanted you to believe. Behind the quirky one-liners and designer gowns was a woman accused of exploiting her daughter, tearing her sisters apart, and bullying her way through Beverly Hills. Fans once called her the queen. Now they're calling her the villain. This is the shady truth about Kathy Hilton. Kathy's meltdown. Kathy screaming and yelling and venting and saying things that I have never heard in my life. This you recall? I recall venting thinking that we've known each other a long time. This is not being filmed. And I felt that I could talk to you. Kathy Hilton didn't just appear out of nowhere on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. No, her story starts way back before the world even knew the Hilton name. Born Kathleen Elizabeth Avanzino in 1959, she was raised in a world obsessed with money, status, and appearances. From the very beginning, Kathy wasn't learning about kindness or humility. She was learning about image, about how to present a perfect, polished version of herself while keeping the messy reality locked tightly behind closed doors. And here's what most fans don't realize. Kathy's childhood wasn't glamorous. It was fractured, chaotic, and filled with instability. Her parents divorced. She was shuffled through blended families. And it created a pattern. Kathy would do anything to secure her position in life. She understood early on that the way to survive in high society wasn't by being the smartest or the kindest. It was by controlling the narrative. By the time she was a teenager, Kathy was already positioning herself for wealth and power. And that's where Rick Hilton enters the picture. Yes, the Hilton name, the dynasty of hotels, billions, and global influence. Kathy didn't just marry into money, she secured herself into one of the most powerful families in America. That was her ticket, her golden pass, and she never let it go. But what's wild is how she used that Hilton name, not just to elevate herself, but to overshadow her own sisters. Kim and Kyle Richards were already working child actresses, but Kathy always wanted to be the one in control, the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. And trust me, that sweet sister act she plays on TV, it's just that, an act. Because Kathy Hilton has been feuding with her family for decades, long before Bravo ever showed up with cameras, and then came the children. Paris, Nikki, Barron, Conrad. The Hilton kids weren't just being raised, they were being branded. Kathy wasn't just a mom. She was a manager, a manipulator, a gatekeeper to their careers. And the truth, Paris Hilton's childhood was a nightmare. Kathy and Rick sent Paris off to those infamous troubled teen boarding schools, places later exposed for abuse, isolation, and psychological torment. So while Kathy plays the doting mom on Real Housewives, the reality is much darker. She built her empire off her children's suffering, off of Paris being broken down, controlled, and turned into the brand that made billions. Kathy Hilton's image of motherhood has always been a performance, and it's one of the shadiest parts of her entire story. Kathy Hilton wants you to believe she's the calm, collected sister in the Richards family, the one who keeps everything together. But if you've been watching Real Housewives long enough, you know the truth is the exact opposite. Kathy Hilton isn't the peacemaker. She's the puppet master. And her history with her sisters, Kyle and Kim Richards, proves it. For decades, the Richards sisters' drama has been tabloid gold. Kim battling addiction, Kyle struggling for independence, and Kathy was always sitting in the shadows, looking down on them, judging and pretending she was above the chaos. But what Bravo cameras exposed is that Kathy wasn't above it. She was right in the middle of it, just more calculated, more ruthless, and far better at keeping her hands clean. Remember the reunion fights, the tears, the accusations of betrayal. What fans forget is that Kathy spent years refusing to even film with Kyle. Yes, her own sister. Why? Because Kathy Hilton was furious that Kyle dared to make American Woman a show loosely based on their mother. Kathy called it disrespectful. But let's be real, the real reason she was angry is because she couldn't control the narrative. Control, that's Kathy Hilton's game. If she's not the one writing the story, she doesn't want the story told at all. And Kyle making that show without her permission. To Kathy, that was the ultimate betrayal. The Hilton name, the Richards legacy. Kathy believes those belong to her. She's the gatekeeper. She's the one who decides what the world gets to know. And then came Aspen, the infamous trip that Bravo tried to bury, but fans never forgot. Kathy Hilton allegedly went on a rant, an explosive tirade, screaming, threatening, and insulting everyone in the cast, including her own sister, Kyle. Rumors swirled about Kathy using slurs, making threats, and unleashing years of bottled-up rage. And what did Kathy do after? She denied, minimized, and played the victim. Suddenly, she had memory lapses. Suddenly, she was the poor, misunderstood housewife. But ask yourself, why would Lisa Rinna, why would Erica Jane, two women who live for drama, risk it all by exposing Kathy if it wasn't true? The truth is simple. Kathy Hilton's mask slipped. And for the first time, the world saw who she really was. A woman obsessed with power, a sister who would tear down her own family, and a housewife whose carefully crafted image is nothing but smoke and mirrors. Kathy Hilton isn't the comic relief. She's not the lovable eccentric. She's the shady matriarch who's been pulling strings and breaking bonds for decades. Kathy Hilton's entire life has been built on one word: money. The Hilton fortune is her shield, her crown, and her weapon. But if you peel back the layers of that glittering empire, the cracks start to show, and the image Kathy projects isn't nearly as clean as she wants you to believe. Let's get this straight. Kathy Hilton married into one of the most famous dynasties in America. But she didn't just become Mrs. Hilton. She became the face of the family, the woman tasked with protecting the brand. That's why for decades, Kathy played the perfect hostess, the glamorous Beverly Hills mother who threw extravagant parties, raised perfect children, and kept her name untouchable. But when your brand is built on image, every scandal threatens to bring it all crashing down. Remember Paris Hilton's arrest, the leaked tape, the jail sentence. Kathy's response wasn't concern, it was damage control. She didn't want the world to see Paris as a troubled young woman. She wanted the world to see Paris as the next Marilyn Monroe. And Kathy, she pulled every string she could to protect that fantasy. What about the Hilton hotels themselves? The empire her husband's family name is attached to has been riddled with lawsuits, scandals, and labor disputes. From accusations of worker mistreatment to shady business dealings overseas, the Hilton brand has never been as squeaky clean as the commercials suggest. But Kathy will never admit that because for her, perception is reality. As long as the public believes the Hiltons are American royalty, then her power remains intact. And let's talk about the whispers, the rumors about financial troubles hidden behind closed doors. The idea that not everything in the Hilton household is paid for in cash, that loans, lawsuits, and silent settlements are part of the story, too. Kathy may laugh it off, but ask yourself, why has she been so desperate to return to Real Housewives? Why suddenly, after decades of refusing to film, does Kathy need Bravo? The answer is simple: exposure. Kathy Hilton wants relevance because relevance equals money. Being on Bravo keeps her brand alive. It keeps her daughters' names in the headlines. It keeps the Hilton family floating in the public consciousness. Without that spotlight, Kathy's grip on power slips, and she knows it. Kathy Hilton's wealth is her armor. But wealth doesn't erase the truth. The shady business deals, the endless cover-ups, the obsession with reputation, those are the real Hilton family values, and Kathy has mastered them better than anyone else. Kathy Hilton thought joining the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills would be harmless fun. A little champagne, a little gossip, maybe a few quirky one-liners. What she didn't expect was that the mask she'd worn for decades would finally slip and the world would see the darker side of Beverly Hills. Royalty, her first season, fans adored her. Kathy was the eccentric comic relief, the clueless but lovable Hilton matriarch. She called Kyle hunky-dory, wore slippers to parties, and acted like the cameras were all just a big game. But that was the image Kathy wanted you to buy. The harmless, goofy, rich aunt who didn't care about the drama. Then came Aspen. In Aspen, the cracks shattered. According to multiple castmates, Kathy launched into a rage-filled tirade, insulting everyone, threatening her sister Kyle, and allegedly screaming that she would destroy her family. Lisa Rinna claimed she had never seen anything like it, comparing it to a meltdown from hell. Kathy denied it, of course, but denial is her trademark. It wasn't the first time she covered up bad behavior, and it wouldn't be the last. The problem for Kathy was that the footage didn't lie. The Bravo cameras caught enough tension, enough smoke that fans couldn't ignore the fire. Suddenly, Kathy wasn't the fun comic relief anymore. She was the villain. The mask had slipped, and what we saw underneath was calculated, mean-spirited, and cold. Even worse, Kathy's own sister was the target. Decades of sibling rivalry boiled over, and Kyle was left humiliated on national television again because of Kathy. Fans began to question, was Kathy ever really lovable? Or was she just hiding behind money and privilege while treating people like garbage? The second cameras went dark. The Aspen trip exposed Kathy Hilton's temper, her entitlement, and her ability to manipulate the narrative. She wanted to play the victim, to paint Rinna as the liar and Kyle as the problem. But Housewives fans are smart. They saw through it. And for the first time, Kathy's reputation wasn't protected by her wealth or her last name. It was crumbling in real time in front of millions of viewers. Kathy Hilton joined Bravo to cement her legacy. Instead, she exposed her truth, and it was darker than anyone expected. Kathy Hilton loves to play the victim on camera, but off camera, she's built a reputation as one of the shadiest housewives of them all. Fans call her out for her hypocrisy, demanding loyalty from others while stabbing her own family in the back. Let's start with the constant feuds. Kathy has a long history of turning on people the second they don't serve her image. From Kyle Richards to Lisa Rinna, even to her so-called friends in Beverly Hills society, Kathy is quick to ice people out, to cut them off, and to spread whispers behind their backs. It's a pattern, and it's one she's been hiding for decades. Her Bravo run proved it. At the reunion, she laughed off accusations, rolled her eyes, and gaslit her own sister. She wanted fans to believe Kyle was dramatic, Rinna was lying, and that she was innocent. But ask anyone who's worked with Kathy. She's a master manipulator. Her entire brand depends on controlling the narrative. Because without that control, the real Kathy comes out. And the real Kathy isn't quirky or lovable. She's cold, calculated, and ruthless. Behind the scenes, stories leak about her treatment of staff, her dismissive attitude toward fans, even her shady comments at events. Kathy plays the sweet Hilton mom for the cameras, but people who've seen her up close tell a very different story. The mask of Beverly Hills royalty slips when there aren't cameras around. And what's left is entitlement, cruelty, and disdain for anyone beneath her. And let's not forget, Kathy Hilton isn't above using Bravo to settle scores. Every fight, every feud, every breakdown seems to circle back to her need for control. She doesn't just want to be on Housewives. She wants to own the narrative, rewrite history, and come out looking untouchable. But fans aren't buying it anymore. They've seen the hypocrisy. They've watched her tear down her sister, deny her own meltdowns, and then smile sweetly into the camera as if nothing happened. The internet receipts don't lie, and Kathy's reputation is darker than ever. Kathy Hilton can buy diamonds, private jets, and designer gowns, but she can't buy authenticity. And she definitely can't buy back the trust she's lost. For years, Kathy Hilton thought she had the public fooled. She painted herself as the lovable Hilton matriarch, sipping tea in silk robes, throwing shade with a smile. But fans aren't buying it anymore. The facade is cracking and the backlash is brutal. Social media has turned on her. Once adored as the quirky fan favorite, Kathy is now labeled a liar, a manipulator, and a bully. Hashtags like Kathy exposed trend after every Bravo scandal. Fans dissect her every word, every smirk, every denial, and they're not fooled by the sweet act anymore. When Lisa Rinna called her out, many laughed it off at first, but the more Kathy denied, the more people started digging. The receipts poured in. Witness accounts of her off-camera meltdowns, rumors of vile things she allegedly said, and stories of her bullying behavior in Hollywood circles. The internet doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. The Bravo audience is ruthless, and Kathy knows it. Once you lose the fans, it's over. Viewers call her toxic, entitled, and dangerous for the franchise. Petitions circulate demanding Bravo cut ties. Comment sections are flooded with fans saying the show doesn't need her because the Kathy Hilton mask has slipped too far to put back on. And what's Kathy's response? Silence, denials, gaslighting. She plays dumb, pretends she's misunderstood, claims it's all Bravo editing, but the backlash only grows louder. You can't gaslight millions of viewers. The court of public opinion has spoken. And Kathy Hilton is guilty. The shady truth is out. Kathy Hilton isn't Beverly Hills royalty anymore. She's reality TV's fallen queen and the empire she tried to protect with lies and manipulation. It's collapsing one fan at a time. Let's talk about Real Housewives. You mentioned that your daughters were like, "Mother, no." And then you ended up doing it. What made you want to join? It was during COVID. I was bored and Kyle and I had been kind of separated. How do you think the show impacted you and Kyle's relationship by you doing it? We were like little girls again and having fun and laughing. I feel like the world has known just because also of the show that you guys have had a lot of ups and downs. I will say that it all gets exaggerated too. I'll read things for hours ago. Kathy and Kyle are still not getting along. What? One of the major issues that everyone saw was between you and Kyle was really just the tension between your husband and her ex, Mauricio. I think that got taken out of context a little bit too. You know, I like Mauricio. I wish him the best. Would you want Kyle to get back with Mauricio ever, or are you happy for her now where she's at? I would want whatever she would, you know, it would make me. Of course it would put a smile on my face. I don't like change. I like everybody, you know, and I don't care how old your children are. It hurts. Today, Kathy Hilton lives in the shadow of her own scandal. Once the untouchable matriarch of the Hilton dynasty, she's now a cautionary tale. A woman who tried to mask her cruelty with diamonds and designer gowns. But no amount of wealth or privilege can erase the receipts. Her carefully crafted image as the sweet, eccentric Beverly Hills mom has been shredded by fan outrage, family feuds, and whispers of who she really is behind closed doors. Paris and Nikki keep their distance in interviews. Her Bravo co-stars treat her with suspicion. And the very fans who once adored her laugh at her denials and excuses. The reality, Kathy Hilton is no longer reality TV's queen. She's the scandal no one forgets. The toxic friend every cast fears. The woman Bravo keeps around only because chaos sells. But even that chaos has a shelf life. Fans are tired. The truth is louder. The empire is shrinking. With this group, let's not make mountains out of molehills. Is that right? Molehills out of mountains. Whatever it is. Do you get what I mean? Kathy will say, I'm going to tell you one thing. I was talking to, you know, and I was like, you know what I mean? And I thought to myself, you know what I'm saying? And I was ready to, I'm telling you. So, I just said, you know what I'm saying? Not going to do it, Kyle. And I'm like, who the hell are we talking about? The Hilton name may still open doors, but Kathy's own reputation, it's closing faster than she can pour another cup of tea. She called herself Beverly Hills royalty. But now Kathy Hilton is nothing more than a fallen queen, dethroned by her own lies.